All right, some breaking news here with the LSU situation and Brian Kelly. LSU has announced the hire officially of Notre Dame's Brian Kelly as they are giving the coach a 9-year, $95 million deal. So right around 9.5 years, or right around 9 years, $95 million is where it is right now. LSU says it's a 10-year deal at $95 million. And Brian Kelly will not coach the bowl game for Notre Dame. He is on LSU staff immediately. Wow. And somebody who has been on the front line covering Notre Dame football, does a tremendous job. I've been keeping up with him over the last couple of days when this story was really starting to kind of take legs and starting to run. Is Mike Singer, and Singer is up at Notre Dame football. He covers Notre Dame football for blueandgold.com. You can find him on Twitter at Mike T. Singer, as he's on Twitter. And you guys did a fantastic job last night of really kind of covering this story on the fly. Mike, thank you for joining us. Good morning.
Man, what a time to be alive. Appreciate you having me on the show.
Absolutely, man. Thanks for agreeing. What did this catch you totally off guard? Are you shocked by this news that you learned last night?
I mean, you see reports on Twitter, and I've had them myself of Notre Dame's assistant coaches are stunned. I mean, dude, Kelly was doing an in-home visit right before the news broke. I mean, like, how does that happen? I mean, I don't think Kelly was anticipating the news breaking at that point, because obviously he wouldn't have done that home visit at that time. I mean, you guys know this. You're covering it on the LSU side of things. Like, in this industry, when you wake up, you have no idea what is happening that day.
Right. That's right.
I mean, they could hire Bobby Petrino. I mean, like, who the heck knows? I mean, Lou Holtz could be the next Notre Dame head coach. Like, in this day and age, you just do not know who the heck and what the heck is going to happen that day. It's, yes, bombshell, thunder of news. Did not see this coming. Have a lot more information that I would have dig up and figure out how the heck this came together. This is going to be a story that does not die down anytime soon.
At Mike T. Singer is where you follow him on Twitter. He covers Notre Dame football for Blue and Gold. That is online at blueandgold.com. Get over there for the latest. There is a press conference coming up this morning with the athletics director to announce this. What do you expect to happen in the interim standpoint?
What's going to be interesting is, like, what kind of information is he actually going to give? Or is it just kind of the company line of, we're committed to blah, 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 and we're going to do, like, is there really going to be, like, some new scoop? Is there a possibility that they hire or announce a new hire at this press conference? If they do, it would probably be Marcus Freeman, the current defensive coordinator. But that, I would not expect that. But again, going back to my previous kind of rant there, who the heck knows right now? But what's kind of interesting mentioning Freeman is, he was he chose between Notre Dame and LSU.
Right.
He picked Notre Dame because Kelly went after Freeman hard because he wanted someone to kind of disrupt things. Like, there were easier options for Kelly, just to promote an internal guy, as Kelly usually likes to do. That's what he did with the current offensive coordinator and the defensive coordinator before Freeman, just kind of promote your top assistant. But he got out of his comfort zone a little bit when he brought Freeman in, and then Kelly bolts, when they were, potentially going through the college football playoff this season. So many layers. It's just so fascinating.
What does LSU get in Brian Kelly? How would you summarize Brian Kelly, the football coach, in just what LSU is signing this morning?
Stability. If I could sum up Brian Kelly in one word, it's stability. He brought stability to the Notre Dame football program. I mean, the early 2000s, before he took over there in 2010, it was just not in a good place. And like, at that point, if you're a Notre Dame football fan, you're just like hoping for a 10-win season, and now it's 10 wins just not enough. I got to remind Notre Dame fans, hey, look at Texas.
Yeah.
I mean, they have like seven lost seasons more often than anything else right now, and that's a blue blood college football program. So, there was the outlier 2016 season when Notre Dame went 4-8, and that was obviously a terrible season. But otherwise, I mean, it's like he's gotten the Notre Dame football program to where it's national championship or bust for a lot of fans, and that's kind of the expectation there is to win national championship. So, I would tell LSU fans, I wouldn't expect like a grinder on recruiting. Like, I cover football recruiting, so in Notre Dame's rare battles against LSU, Ed Orgeron was after it on the recruiting trail. Like, I remember there was a 2022 tight end recruit who LSU offered, and Orgeron was on the horn with them right away. Like, that same recruit, he didn't talk to Kelly until he committed. So I don't know if that changes when Kelly gets to LSU. He's going to be more active in the day-to-day recruiting. I don't think so. But he's good when he recruits. He's great on visits. He's great in homes of parents and, those families. He does a great job. That's about my thing with Kelly. He's great when he recruits. He's just not that day-to-day active grinder in recruiting. Like an Ed Orgeron, in my opinion. Maybe those closer to the program would disagree with me, but just kind of from my 10,000-foot view and cover Notre Dame, I thought Ed did, a good job in day-to-day recruiting, like a Lincoln Riley. Like, those guys just kind of are dogs on the recruiting trail. That's just not Kelly, but he brings stability, vision, good football mind on both sides of the ball. I mean, it's a really strong hire for LSU.
Is he more of a developer of offensive linemen or quarterbacks if you had to break him down from a position group?
I'm sorry, can you repeat that? My phone is just buzzing here.
I bet. Would you break him down more of a developer of offensive linemen or quarterbacks when you think of him as an offensive-minded guy?
Well, the big thing about him at Notre Dame is that I think the reason why he hadn't won a national championship, he had good quarterbacks, good, like, serviceable, solid quarterbacks. Never first-round talent.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe, guys who have that talent, but never a first-round draftee. Ian Book was just their quarterback last season, like, old-timer for Notre Dame, most wins of starting quarterback in program history, but just not the guy who can put his teammates on his back and carry them to a national championship, because Notre Dame's not going to have this talent out wide that an Alabama or an LSU or a Clemson has. So you have to have that quarterback to make the guys around you look better. And he just has not been able to get that done at the quarterback position. It's kind of, the timing's so odd for this move, because I think the true freshman they have this year, Tyler Buckner, might be that guy. And it just kind of felt like Kelly was going to ride off the sunset with Buckner, and his whether or not he was going to win the national championship would depend on Buckner's success. But obviously that's not going to happen. So it's kind of a long way to answer. The quarterback position has been the struggle for Notre Dame. And again, good quarterbacks, but they've needed that position to be the driving force to lead them to a national championship, like Joe Burrow in 2019. I mean, that was, in my opinion, that was the best college football team I've ever seen. Notre Dame just has not had that level of a quarterback, and not anything close to it. So he's just a good football coach, like, just all around, knows the game. Again, both sides, offense, defense, special teams. It's a good get for the Tigers.
Mike, people make a big deal about how Brian Kelly's personality and how he's kind of like a kind of get on you kind of guy, doesn't really all business. But I guess this would be a two-part question. His players seem to like respect him a lot, like him a lot. And have you seen his personality kind of evolve and change from the time he got there till now?
Yes. I think he's a lot more likable than he used to be. I mean, he had to kind of go through a transformation himself after that 4-8 season I mentioned in 2016. I mean, early in his tenure at Notre Dame, I mean, a lot of social media memes and whatnot about Purple Face Kelly when he was just going ballistic on the sidelines and his face is purple. And now he's, see him on the sidelines a little bit more calm, stoic. Players, tons of respect for him. Again, he just kind of built Notre Dame into a program where, he's just a figurehead. Like, all these recruits I talk to will tell me, man, I can't believe I just talked to Brian Kelly. Like, these kids just think the world of him. I think he's definitely become more of a likable guy here. He's good with the media. Even though he kind of made a joke here in the past couple weeks about, he's not leaving Notre Dame, it would take $250 million or something. And here we are. It didn't take quite that much, I guess.
95 will do it. 95 million will do. 10 years. Last one, Mike. I know you're very busy. We appreciate your time, and you got a very busy day ahead of you. How much longer do you think Kelly has left?
Oh, wow. Well, what's interesting is a few years ago, he talked about, and I wish I had the exact details in front of me right now, but a few years ago in a press conference, he was asked about Notre Dame scheduling with Ohio State. In the next year they play Ohio State. So I want to say it was next year they were talking about it for the game. And maybe this interview was 2015 or 2016 or so. And he made a joke that, I'll be watching that game, on the beach with a Mai Tai in my hand. And here he still is, and now signing a 10-year deal. I honestly thought that, his time, I thought he was going to retire at Notre Dame in like 2024, 2025. Him signing a 10-year deal, apparently, he wants to, coach into his 70s. So, I mean, so that's kind of my perspective on it. I have got no idea if he'll last, his whole contract. I would lean not just because of this day and age. But, again, I keep saying it's a great get for LSU. He's a great football coach. The fit is just kind of what's interesting to me. Yeah. I mean, LSU is that's a different world. He's never coached in the South. The LSU demands that. If he thinks Notre Dame's fan base is crazy, he's got a whole new world coming to him. It's going to be interesting. I mean, Notre Dame fans, their favorite team's Fighting Irish. Their second favorite team's about to be whoever LSU is playing. So, it's going to be fascinating.
Sorry, this is the last one. Is there a leader for you on who could be next at Notre Dame?
I kind of like Marcus Freeman. Uh-huh. I think that's a mix of me saying, personally, I think he'd be great, but also kind of like a mix of what I'm hearing from and talking to various people. Still early, but yeah, I think it's there's a decent chance of that happening. But one thing to keep an eye on, if Marcus Freeman doesn't get that job at Notre Dame, Brian Kelly's first call has got to be to Marcus Freeman, right?
Right, absolutely.
As the coordinator.
Yeah.
So, and it would kind of be full circle for him, considering that's the job he passed up. So that would be something to keep an eye on for you guys.
And Tommy Rees is the offensive coordinator, right? I mean, does he have a shot here?
That's a really interesting question. Like, if that new coach comes in for Notre Dame and they want Rees, is Rees more loyal to Notre Dame or is he more loyal to Brian Kelly, his former coach?
Right.
Because Rees was Notre Dame's quarterback, and and Brian Kelly's went the first few years there. So yeah, he's a good mind. He's a strong recruiter, not a big bubbly personality. I'll talk to various people who Rees just rubs them the wrong way, but for the most part, the kids love him. Good football mind. I mean, he can open it up or he can go ground pound. I think he's a young, up and coming, future, P5 coach. So I think if you're an LSU fan and they get Tommy Rees, I think you're excited.
One more question. I'm just kidding. Mike Singer, thank you very much, bro. I know it's a very busy day for you. Great job at blueandgold.com. Appreciate all the information.
All right. You guys have a good one.
All right, man. You too.